Hey folks, and welcome back to the second video in our position group by position group breakdown series for the 2023 class. Mike Roach alongside Tommy Yarish here. Mike, let's talk about this wide receivers room. They have four new faces, one transfer in AD Mitchell from Georgia, fresh off a national championship, and then Jonte Cook, Ryan Niblett, and DeAndre Moore signing from the high school ranks. What are your overall perceptions of the four new guys coming to the 40 acres?
Well, I think it's a really talented class. It's three guys ranked in the top 150, along with the mammoth transfer prospect and AD Mitchell, and it's a really complementary group. I think that each guy's skill set kind of works within the others. It was kind of an odd road to patch this class together. There were ups, there were downs, there were commitments, decommitments, late wins, but in the end, I think Texas brought in a really talented class.
So what sticks out to me about this class is the three high school signees were all recruited by Brennan Marion. Obviously, he leaves to become the offensive coordinator at UNLV. Enter Chris Jackson from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's been around the NFL ranks for a long time. This is his first college gig. What do you think that transition is going to be like, and what are your initial perceptions from how these new guys are handling a brand new wide receivers coach?
Well, I think that that's going to be one of the most important and interesting storylines of the spring, right? Because Brendan Marion was very well liked by this roster and by the receivers in his room. Bit of a different style, though. Marion was a kind of a player's coach, a younger guy, whereas Chris Jackson is a guy that I think is brought in to maybe add a little bit more structure to that room, and we'll kind of see how that bears out through the spring. So I think that's going to be the most fascinating. But what Chris Jackson brings, while the jury is a bit out on him as a recruiter, it's obvious that he was good enough to coach receivers at the professional level. I thought his guys in Jacksonville had a good year this year, and so I think I'm interested to see kind of what the feedback is from that receiver room coming out of the spring.
All right, let's walk through each guy individually here. We'll start off with the national champion, AD Mitchell. Hudson and I broke him down a little bit when he committed a couple weeks ago, but I'm just curious to what your thoughts are on the aspects of his game and what he adds to an already deep wide receivers room at Texas.
Well, I think the best thing he adds is speed and physicality on the outside, along with some valuable experience. They've been looking for that big bodied receiver who can go and make plays on the outside, whether it be, in the red zone to get a first down, down the field, anything like that. And I think AD Mitchell brings that. He also brings you valuable experience playing at the playoff and national championship level and showing legitimate production at those levels. So there's obviously a question about his injury history. I think him staying healthy is a huge component of this. But what they're getting in AD Mitchell is a lot like what I think thought they were getting in Isaiah Nayor last year, was a big body on the outside that can go win some balls and be a little more physical and maybe take some of the cover off some of the smaller guys on the roster like Xavier Worthy.
They are hopefully returning to the team healthy as well this year after the ACL tear. Mike, you and I talked about Jonte Cook last week when the final 24/7 rankings dropped in the 2023 class. You've always had high praise for him. I know you've been close with him for a long time, even narrated in his commitment video, which was pretty cool. So just can you add some more about, what it is about Jonte Cook that made him such a coveted get at this wide receiver spot and what his recruitment ended up boiling down to?
Yeah, I think for Jonte, the biggest thing is just his all around skill set and his understanding of the position. He is an elite brain at the position, an elite route runner, a guy that creates separation off the line, can create separation at the top of the route, understands what he's doing and why he's doing it, and a guy that understands what defenses are giving him as well. What his recruitment ultimately boiled down to was that Texas was the leader from the very beginning and really never fell off. There were times he talked up other schools, but I think that was definitely, based on talking to the people around him, just to kind of throw people off the set. Texas was always in control of this one, and as long as they didn't screw it up, they were going to get Jonte Cook.
Moving on to Ryan Niblett now. I think this is a really interesting prospect because you look at his high school tape from Eisenhower, and he played a lot of quarterback, not really a lot of wide receiver work, but I know he's got some speed attributes that really make him special. What was it about Niblett's game that made Texas want to sign him as a wide receiver in mind?
Well, you look at one thing, and that's the speed, the 10.4, 10.5 speed he showed in the 100 meters this year. or I'm sorry, the past spring, where he won a ton of track and field events in 4x1, 4x2, 100, 200, long jump, triple jump, showing what a tremendous athlete he was at the position. Today's football game is all about finding space and then exploiting that space with great athletic traits like speed and explosiveness. And I think Ryan Niblett has that in spades. What you can do with him, you can give him those touch passes, those jet sweeps, those swing screens, and then he can also go downfield and take the top off of the defense. He fits really well because of his ability and his speed and explosiveness, and I love what he can do out of the slot position.
And then Steve Sarkisian and company went down the stretch to flip DeAndre Moore from Louisville to Texas. Walk us through what that closing period was like and why Steve Sarkisian and his staff were pushing so hard for Moore's signature.
They were always on DeAndre Moore. From the moment they arrived in Austin, I can remember meeting him as a freshman or sophomore when he was playing football in Las Vegas at Desert Pines High School while watching another prospect work out. And Texas was on him even then. They stuck with him through the ups and downs of the recruitment of him committing to Oklahoma, decommitting, coming to Texas running out in front again, and then losing to Louisville. And then down the stretch, just stayed on him and were able to bring him in at the end. And I think that what you get in DeAndre Moore is kind of a combination between what you get in Ryan Niblett and Jonte Cook, an explosive, powerful, fast, and big receiver who can play a little more physically and who can also give you kind of everything in the route tree. He can go deep. He can give you those possession catches. He can go win jump balls. It's just a very good complementary class that I think all melds together.
And then speaking of melding together, when you look at the room, it's pretty crowded in the wide receivers department. 7 returners from last year. Now you add these 4 newcomers. That adds up to 11 if my math is right. I've never been good at it. So obviously spring camp is going to be a big component as to how the roster shapes out, how the depth chart shapes out. But initially, for right now, where could you see some of these newcomers sliding in on that depth chart and when it comes to getting some playing time?
I think the wide receiver position is definitely a great candidate for attrition this spring based on what happens. We've got Jonte Cook and DeAndre Moore already on campus along with A.D. Mitchell. So those guys are going to be in the mix immediately at the receiver position. There's going to be some guys who are going to have to figure out where they stand after this spring and if they want to stick around, because I think this class is one of the more talented classes they've signed in recent years. I think that all 3 guys are top 150 prospects in the country and guys that can bring you a lot of versatility and a different type of ability. So I think that you'll see the guys on campus get involved right away. Those are guys that I expect to make waves during spring practice. And then when Ryan Niblett gets there, people are going to be talking about his speed because he's got it in a way that not many others on the roster do.
Texas certainly has a good problem on their hands. We'll see how that ends up playing out. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining us. And thank you for joining us on the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to watch all the next coming videos in this series and all the best content across the Texas Longhorns beat. Once again, thanks for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe. For Mike Roach, I'm Tommy Yarsh. We'll see you next time.